They knew one rule: never go to this village at night. On the maps of Louisiana, the village has long been marked as abandoned. Dozens of houses surrounded by swamps and black water. Locals call it Black Hollow Village. Officially, it was abandoned back in the 1990s. The reason was the gradual disappearance of its residents. No bodies were ever found. No signs of struggle. Doors remained locked. Personal belongings were left behind, as if people had just stepped out for a moment. A year later, authorities closed the road to the village. It was removed from tourist routes and official records. But sometimes, people still go there, unofficially. And almost all of them report the same thing. At night, lights turn on in the houses. Dim yellow lights, like from old lamps. And if you get closer, you can hear that someone is inside. In October 2018, 3 people went there: Mark, Daniel, and Sarah. They were filming a documentary project about abandoned places. Mark handled the camera. Daniel was in charge of sound. Sarah collected material and kept the archive. They knew the rumors, but they treated them as ordinary stories made for attention. The road to the village was almost completely destroyed. They had to walk the last mile on foot. The village met them with silence. A silence that felt too heavy. Even insects could not be heard. The houses stood in straight rows, all darkened by moisture. Some windows were boarded up, others were open. Sarah noticed something strange. Inside one of the houses, there was a table with set dishes. The plates were clean, no dust. It looked as if someone had wiped them recently. They decided to stay until nightfall, to test the main legend. When it got dark, the temperature dropped sharply. Cold air rose from the swamps. And then Mark noticed it first. A light turned on in one of the houses. Then another, and another. Yellow light slowly spread across the street. No sound, no visible movement outside. Daniel started recording, and almost immediately the microphone picked up noise. Soft footsteps, floorboards creaking, and something like muffled voices. But there was no one in the village. They decided to check one of the houses, the one where the first light appeared. The door was slightly open. A faint yellow light came from inside. Mark went in first. Then Daniel and Sarah followed. Inside it was warm, unnaturally warm for an abandoned house. A cup stood on the table. Steam was rising from it. Daniel whispered that this was impossible. But the recording kept running, and then they heard footsteps upstairs. Someone was walking on the second floor, slowly, heavily. Sarah called out, thinking it might be another investigator. The footsteps stopped. Silence filled the house. And then, someone started coming down the stairs. The creaking steps were clear, one by one, but no one was there. Mark pointed the camera upward, and something reflected in the lens. A silhouette. Unclear, like a stain in an old recording. It was moving down toward them. Sarah stepped back and accidentally looked out the window. Outside, a figure was standing, exactly the same, and it was staring directly at her. At that moment, all the doors in the house slammed shut at once. The lights began to flicker, and the recording captured a voice. It repeated one phrase, over and over again. "You did not come alone." After that, the recording cuts off abruptly. The next day, their car was found on the roadside. Several miles from the village, the doors were open. The keys were still in the ignition. They were never found. 2 weeks later, the local sheriff received a package. No return address. Inside was a memory card. On it, the final recording. The one that ended in the house. But there was another fragment. Something they never filmed. A static camera. One of the houses. That same one. A light in the window. And 3 silhouettes inside. They were standing still and facing the camera. Experts confirmed the recording was authentic. No signs of editing. Since then, access to the village has been completely closed. Officially, due to unstable ground and swamps. Unofficially, because of complaints. People living within a few miles sometimes see lights and hear footsteps at night, especially in October. The archive of this recording is still kept in restricted access. But copies sometimes appear online. And if you look closely, new silhouettes appear in some of the windows. What do you think is happening inside those houses? And why do the lights only turn on at night? Subscribe for more stories that locals never talk about.